Welcome back into the Frank Beckmann Show. One of the many reasons I love having Congressman Thaddeus McCotter join us on the show is he always is able to tell me some story from Congress, it seems, that elicits a chuckle. And I just had a big one off air with him. He's been involved with his Democratic colleague from Michigan, Gary Peters, in a bipartisan amendment to what they say is fully fund the Interagency Trade Enforcement Center. All right, now listen up. That's all about trying to get jobs back here from China, bottom line. We'll let him explain more. He's much more erudite in that way. Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, good morning.
Hey, Frank. Thanks for having me back. Happy Nurses Week, by the way.
Rita's celebrating, is she?
Well, I'm not there, so she's probably happier.
I didn't know it was Nurses Week, but I knew that because of the nurse in your life, the very special one that you wouldn't forget. So thank you. Happy Nurses Week to all of the nurses in our listening audience.
As do you, Frank. Well, in terms of the ITEC...
Yeah, now tell me, what is the ITEC?
In the past, I'd worked with my Democratic colleague, Mike Michaud from Maine, to try to get a comprehensive approach to dealing with the systematic predatory trade practices of Communist China and the unfair trade practices of other countries. Instead of trying to play whack-a-mole by hitting one trade sanction or violation across, one at a time, what we tried to do was to say treat them as a coherent problem and come out and have a blanket approach to trying to deal with them, so that you don't have one industry actually get relief, hopefully, and then the 5 others are suffering at the same time. Why don't you try to help all industries? Mm-hmm. So what happens is the president came out. There's the ITEC, and Gary had an amendment. He asked me to be the lead Republican on it because so many of our constituents in both districts and throughout Michigan and the Midwest in America are suffering from unfair trade practices. I was happy to be part of it. So we went down to the floor, and our argument was quite simply to take 15 of the 26 million requested, add 11 million to the 15 million requested to fully fund the agency and get it working. We wanted the offset to be, so it wasn't just new spending, we wanted to make sure it was revenue neutral. It was offset by taking it out of something called NASA's cross-agency support category.
All right, so it would take this money, about $11 million, is that roughly the amount? Okay. And first of all, before we get to NASA's cross-agency support budget, what exactly would the money be used for by the ITEC to try to bring jobs back here?
It's to try to make sure that all the entities in the United States are working off the same page, that they're looking for these, and they're actually filing and working against them, rather than leaving individual agencies to make those determinations, which you have to have as a quarterback. And it's going to be necessary because, as you know, trade touches and affects not only so many people's lives here in the United States and abroad, but they touch and affect the governmental agencies. And you want everybody's oar in the water rowing in the same direction and actually bringing the types of cases that we need to try to get relief of our existing rights under trade law and under treaty. Now, if we don't have that, what happens is a continued scattershot approach where, again, you'll have to have a debate to address one specific trade violation or not, while many others go on. So we wanted to do that. Now, look, I like NASA. We like science. We like space. We know that innovations come out of there. But I want to put this in perspective. The Cross-Agency Support Fund for NASA gets $2.84 billion. So we were asking for 0.6% of that budget to be used to help enforce trade against stop trade violations, so that our manufacturing base, which I think has innovations that come out of it, which has strategic necessity to the United States, can actually start defending itself and the workers from unfair competition.
All right, so let me repeat the question I asked you off the air that whose response got me chuckling, and that is, what is NASA's cross-agency support? What is that?
Well, it's basically, it's a nebulous term.
Come on, you told me you had no idea. Come on.
I said most people don't know what it is, but it's cross-agency support, so it's other aspects of NASA that can deal with other agencies. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but the details of what it does and why it so critically has to have $2.84 billion rather than less than 0.6% of its budget shifted over into making sure that we protect against trade violations, no one can really answer that. Now, some of the arguments that were put forward was that, which was mind-numbing, was that somehow that 0.6% is what stands between us and cyber spying by Communist China and other countries. Now, I would argue that that would be addressed by the ITEC. And secondly, Frank, as we talked off air, is that 0.6% of the NASA cross-agency support is all that stands between us and communist nations being able to cyber spy on us at will. It's kind of over.
Well, the other part of it only costs $11 million to fix that whole problem and to stop them from spying on us. Just spend the $11 million and be done with it. And we'll move on. I mean, but it's not like that.
Well, no, and cyber spying is something that is something that's not only national security, it's also they go after economic and commercial targets, and it's done every day to our manufacturing industry and other critical industries in the United States. And that would be part of what the ITEC would be doing. So to make the claim that somehow reducing NASA's cross-agency support would allow cyber spying is false, because you're just dealing it with through the ITEC as part of its overall goal.
Yeah, but guess what? So many jobs in Texas, in Florida, count on NASA funding like that their representatives voted this down 261 to 141, and so you start from scratch trying to find another area for funding the effort by the ITEC.
Yeah, but all jobs, as you know, Frank, are affected by the unfair trade practices of other nations. NASA and their innovations are ripe to be stolen, and it's not going to inure to anybody's benefit to have a cross-agency support sitting there while we lose American manufacturing jobs or we lose other jobs in the United States due to unfair competition. It's not going to, in my mind, be dispositive that NASA has 0.6% still left in its cross-agency support budget.
All right. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about the flap over Mitt Romney's comment. Your guy Mitt Romney made the comment the other day in Cleveland. It's still making headlines here in Detroit 2 days later today, where he said that his suggestion on how to deal with the auto industry, GM and Chrysler specifically, was followed by the Obama administration, so he deserves some credit for what happened in turning the auto industry around.
I think what we have to focus on, Republican or Democrat at this point in time, is to make sure the auto industry and manufacturing continues to go forward, and what types of policies are necessary in the United States to make sure that the workers and the managers of those companies can continue to do that. That, to me, is about the future. That's what this election is about. And to both President Obama and Governor Romney, my candid, honest support is the American people want to know what's going to happen down the road, not what happened in the past.
All right, thanks for being with us. Always good to talk with you. And again, happy Nurses Week to Rita and all our colleagues.
Thanks, Frank.
I'll see you later.
Bye.